Truthfully, what happens is, as children grow up, we start to educate them progressively from the waist up. And then we focus on their heads and slightly to one side.
I think in the old days, you were better off. Because nowadays, they're all specialists. Everyone's becoming better and better. And less and less. And eventually someone's going to be superb. And nothing.
Our education system has mined our minds in the way that we strip mined the earth for a particular commodity. And for the future, it won't serve us. We have to rethink the fundamental principles on which we're educating our children.
We're not here to tell everybody that they're wrong and we're right. We're not saying that we have all the answers, but we'd like to present a different way of looking at it.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to China Jeducation, episode 33. My name is Vanessa Jencks, and I am a first grade teacher at Sanya Foreign Language School in Sanya, China.
Vanessa, wonderful to have you on China Jeducation today. As always, I have to ask you, what brought you to China?
Well, that is a fun story. Essentially, my husband was going out of a job, and we had already interviewed for positions in Beijing, China. And we were on the fence about going abroad, but then when he was losing his job, it's like, there's no other choice. So it was kind of a last-ditch option. And so we came with two kids in tow. One was 8 months and one was 20 months when we came to China.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is very adventurous of you. Hardcore, as they say. I've got 4. You've got 2, so I know exactly what boat you're in. And how long have you been here for then, at the moment as we speak to you today?
6 years, all in the same district, Yizhuang, which is in the south of China, and it's not very far away from where the new massive airport was built. But
Right.
I've been living in Sanya, China since the end of June, and absolutely love it. So now it's about 6.5 years.
I've got some interesting stories about Sanya, but I think we can get into that a little bit later. But that's super cool, and of course, pollution-wise, it's really, really cool. But we'll get into that later as well.
Yeah.
But as this is a kind of a new format for the listeners, I'm going to introduce a new game, and that game is called, wait for it, Classroom Scramble.
Oh, we chat Weixin, we chat Weixin, we chat Weixin me. We chat Weixin, come to my party.
So in Classroom Scramble, the teacher, as in Vanessa, you are the one to take up the mantle today for the first time, is going to be given some letters, which they can write down if they want to, probably a good thing. And you can too at home or wherever you are, listeners, now, if you've got one handy. And basically what I'll do is I'll give out a jumbled mix of letters that will mean something, some object that you would find in a normal teaching classroom. So you've got from now, Vanessa and the listeners, to work out what that object in the classroom is, and I'll give you the answer at the end of the show. So are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so here we go. We've got R for Romeo. I'm not going to give you, the normal phonetic words for these. R for Romeo, M for mummy, whatever comes to my mind. R for Romeo, M for mummy, T for tulip, O for ostrich, E for egg, P for pillar, C for car, and U for umbrella. God, I'm like a kindergarten child, aren't I? They'd all say umbrella. Go. So There you go. RMTOEPCU. That's for you to jumble around, and for the listeners too, and see if you can beat yours truly by the end of it. Okay, wonderful. Okay. So let's get back into your story, Vanessa. So where are you actually from in the world?
I'm from an incredibly small town in South Carolina. So on the east side of the U.S. And the city that I'm from is called Greenville, and it's kind of an up and coming city in South Carolina, very beautiful. But then in the middle of my childhood, I was moved to the middle of nowhere. And it's called Pickens, South Carolina. So no one has ever heard of it. And the only reason why people go there is to see the many, many leaves that change in fall. So it's incredibly small.
So it's known for its leaves that fall that are of different colors. Okay,
exactly.
That's really... Okay.
It has like a national park in the area, and in South Carolina in the Appalachian Mountains, there's over 1,000 species of trees. And so it just gives this amazing foliage of purple and orange and red and a lot of different colors. So it's actually famous in that area for its fall, its autumn. But besides that, it's not a very it's not well known. So
okay, well, there you go. You've enlightened me. I never knew about it, but I'm sure it's absolutely beautiful because, the US has just some wonderful natural environments to see. So that's great. So that's where you're from. And where did you go to school then? Was that in the same area? Can you just describe, the kind of school you were in up until, your university time?
Well, I started at a small Christian school in South Carolina. Anderson University, but then I got married in the middle of my college career and moved to Texas. And there I finished up my English literature degree at University of Texas, Arlington. So that was in Fort Worth, Texas, or Arlington, Texas.
Right. Okay. You did an English literature degree. Okay. That sounds really, really nice. And then I always ask this because generally most of us have one. Favorite teacher, Vanessa, going through school, or even, high school, university. Do you have one that comes to mind you'd like to share?
I typically was the teacher's pet, so I had a lot of favorite teachers. And then my mother is also a teacher, so it's kind of, I could get myself in some hot water if I didn't say her. But I was fortunate to have a lot of great teachers. So I remember even my kindergarten teachers. I started studying Spanish at a school of languages in South Carolina, and had a favorite Spanish teacher. And then 3rd grade, 5th grade, several in middle school. But I remember one specific lesson from 3rd grade from Mrs. Perkins was her name. And she taught about the gases, solid, and liquids. And she, of course, used the ice cream and Coke float lesson. I think other science teachers have done this too, but that was just a fantastic lesson that really stuck with me, and I've used that with my own children and students. And she also, I remember in that year was quite magical because the school that I was attending at that time was also an inclusive school, and so we had classmates that had disabilities, from the wheelchair to Down syndrome, and so I kind of grew up just like learning disabilities and physical disabilities. It's just part of life. It's not something that is weird. It is different, but they're abled in a different way. And so I think that was probably one of like the most formidable years. And I also learned about the Holocaust that year from my own self-reading. I read Devil's Arithmetic. So yeah, 3rd grade was a very interesting year for me.
That's so funny. Well, not funny, but coincidentally, I run the library in our school, and my office is in there, so I always make sure the books are put back and all that stuff. And I came across the Devil's Arithmetic the other day. How bizarre is that? And you've just called it out. Maybe I need to read it. Someone's telling me something. Now, the next question I want to ask is, how did you get into teaching? You did your degree in English literature, and then did you mainstream going to do your teaching license, things like this, or did you come about it from maybe a non-conventional way?
I came in kicking and screaming. My sister is several years older than me, and so is my sister-in-law. And and they're both teachers, and my mother is a teacher. So I grew up watching their struggle in the US with bureaucracy. And I said, I'm absolutely not going to do that. And then I came to China, and I was at home by myself with my two kids. And, we had just come from the financial struggle in the US with my husband losing his job. So I agreed to doing some part-time work for the school as kind of something to do, and also as a supplementary income. And both my husband and I, whatever job that we do, we try to do it to the best of our ability. And so I ended up when my children were older and could go to Chinese kindergarten, I started working full-time, and I was asked to pursue leadership. So they asked me to get certification and consider that track. But I like education, and I love education. I ended up getting headhunted by Beijing Kids Magazine in Beijing, and did that for several years. So I think that if I'm in a teacher's position, I'm going to do the job well, and with informed theory, and with practice, and application of the best practices of teaching that I know, or in needing to research.
Okay, I want to talk about now and your current teaching position. So let's get into that.
Work, the con is on. The time has come for procrastination.
So you arrived in Beijing around 6 years ago with the kids, with the husband, but now you're not in Beijing, you're down in Sanya. So when did you come down to Sanya, and what's the current position of the school that you're teaching in?
Okay, I came to Sanya June of this year, so June 2019, and I am a first grade teacher at Sanya Foreign Language School. And at this school, they have three tracks. So I'm in the bilingual track. I have my students for half the day, and they have other teachers for the other half of the day. And then there is a local track that is more typical of Chinese private schools, where you kind of have, they're seeing an oral English teacher for one class every day out of their school day. And then we have an international program. And in the international program, students are still learning Chinese, but they're only seeing their Chinese teacher for two class periods. And a class period is 40 minutes. So they're seeing their Chinese teacher for 2 class periods per day. Okay.
Now, I've got to ask you something. Is your principal, is your boss, Mr. Brian Back?
He was the principal of this school. He's not the principal here anymore, but he did recruit me, and he recruited me several years ago, actually, because as soon as I heard of such a lovely place as Sanya, I was recruited.
Yeah.
But my husband took some convincing to do. He really loved the community that we were in Beijing, and loved his job, and was really committed to the people there. And I love all of the people in Beijing also. I just was tired of the cold and the pollution. So
yeah, sure. So, I mean, sorry to butt in. Mr. Brian Brack, lovely guy. We interviewed him back in, cripes, maybe within the last year, when I was down in Sanya. I was looking around that school. We were thinking about moving down and making the move that you've just done. And he's episode 4, by the way, I've been told from research. China Jeducation, episode 4, international principal Brian Back. So he's left literally at the end of this year, and I mean, I wish him the best of success. Do you know where he's gone?
He is at a school in Haikou, and I believe that he's with RFDZ's or Peking University's Dalton Academy is where I believe that their Haikou branch, or their, I don't know what you call it, their new school there. I believe.
I see. I see. Well, Brian, hopefully he still listens to these podcasts. Vanessa, if you are listening, Brian, get back in touch, because that really is exciting breaking news on episode 33. So I've got to say that
sorry, Brian, I'm a gossip. Please forgive me.
there's nothing to gossip about for sure here. It's just changed his role. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But I've been to the school, and you're right next to the beach. I have to say, and I don't know if your husband thought this as well, because you did mention, you know, the network and the community in Beijing. Obviously, it's a big city. But one thing that I was a little bit concerned about there, Vanessa, was the isolation. To be completely honest, and of course it's different strokes for different folks, right? But I did feel, you know, to be on, I won't say marooned on the island. I mean, it's a big island, but it is quite far away from things, and the school is quite far off the main street, isn't it? Really, down on the on the coast.
Yeah, and so, but I feel in comparison to the suburb where I was in Beijing, that I know I am involved in more things and less isolated here in Sanya than I was in that suburb in Beijing. Because in the suburb in Beijing, we worked all together. We went to some of the same social things all together, and all we saw was one another. And so it was sometimes created an unhealthy environment for people. Then you have pollution and the winter. And I think that specific area, they really struggled with cabin fever from a lot of people. But so how we've dealt with kind of that isolation of Sanya in the school is we live 14 kilometers away from the school, and we live in an area there is very little people that even knows that's even connected to the school. And so we have friends outside of the school, and because we speak Chinese, we're also able to be involved in the culture. So we like it a lot, and I don't feel isolated. So.
Well, and you know, I'm going to ask. I probably know your answer, but you know, some favourite things if someone was going to go down to Sanya, where of course you guys are living now. I mean, number one, the beaches are stunning, aren't they? They really are. And how's the temperature now? Can you jump in and stuff? It's fine.
If you don't mind a little bit cooler of water, during sun, it's fine.
What about like apart from the beaches, would you recommend doing in that kind of in Sanya, Vanessa?
There are a lot of streets and areas in Sanya that never sleep. Like we've been out at 2:00 at night, and people are just eating jiaozi or just minding their own business, or they're dancing together. You know, there's tons of grandparents here and grandmas here, and they love to dance. And for people who are more into the club scene, there's a lot of clubs, and there are also like more kind of hometown bars here that people really like. There's a park near the beach that has like a water show, water fountain. There is hiking here. There's also a lot of sports activities that go on. If you just go to a park here in Sanya, someone is playing volleyball, someone is playing basketball, someone is playing soccer. So I think that there's just a lot to do here. And the city of Sanya is very concerned about kind of jump-starting its economy. And there seems to be an event going on every week, is what it feels that way.
That's cool.
So there is a lot to do in this city, and a lot, I don't know, a lot of favorite things. I love Sanya. It's been really great. I'm so happy we moved here. So.
That's awesome. I think for the kids as well, you know, with the pollution, and because that's some major pluses, a lot of outdoor stuff as well, a lot of nature right next to you. I think Brian, I remember telling me he used to go on a lot of hikes with his kids too. Yeah. So maybe your ones are quite young still, aren't they? Like mine. So maybe they need a bit more growing, so they don't complain as they go up that hill, right?
Actually, my kids love to hike. So, and they're faster than me, to my shame. And they're only 7 and 8 years old, so they take after their father, who's like a superhero practically.
Okay, well, look, let's move on now to I want to talk a little bit about Teach Now, Obviously, Teach Now does a teacher certification program, which you did, like myself, some years back. Can you tell us, what was the main reason for completing the Teach Now preparation program, Vanessa, for your teacher licensure? What was the main kind of go-to need for it?
Sure. The school in Beijing asked me to pursue leadership, and part of the first step for leadership was getting a teacher certification. So that is the absolute main reason that I pursued certification.
Yeah, and many years ago it was a bit different. You could drift in with a backpack on and you get a teacher job straight away. But now, of course, as the country develops, the laws come in and they're a lot stricter. You have to have these credentials, don't you? So
right.
For sure that's what came through at your angle. So how's it helped you in particular? Obviously, it's got you the license. It's managed to tick the box so you can work and get a visa. But on a deeper level, what did you think of the program? And has it helped you, benefited you in a way more than just giving you a license?
Yes, and I absolutely would recommend Teach Now for anyone who is in the education industry, period. And the reason why is, as I've gone from a teacher to, I've also worked as a managing editor of a magazine in the education industry. I've done some startup work that failed, but that's not the end of the story with startups. And then I've also been in human resource in my school in Beijing. I was also in human resource. And Teach Now, it, I think, prepares the 21st century worker in the education industry by equipping them with multiple different types of skills, from learning new mediums of how to present material, and also kind of really helping the teacher take the head knowledge and the theory of education and putting it immediately into practice. I was fortunate to be in a classroom as I was learning the material, and so as soon as I was learning it, I was applying it in the classroom. And I think that if all Teach Now certifications could be that way, that would be, I think, fantastic. I know for some people in the US, they're not able to have that opportunity, but definitely for people who are in China, I think that is one of the biggest perks.
Funny enough, I was talking to a teacher today, and he's just signed up for the program, and his words were, quote unquote, he wanted to wake up. He's just gone for years doing one teaching job, and he just feels like he's fallen asleep. And I think that's something interesting, because, as you said, it is very 21st century technology focused, and I think it can give teachers, whether they're experienced or new, some new fuel to add to their fire. So yeah, good stuff there. And what's the most important thing you learned from it, do you think, if you could just pinpoint one thing, Vanessa?
I think that the teaching profession is a science. And there are ways that you can definitely assess learning and also your effectiveness as a teacher. And going along with that, if my students aren't getting it or they're not paying attention in class, I need to go back to the lesson plan and look at what I've done wrong or how I'm not reaching that student. And so the burden is on the teacher. While I think that traditional education kind of lumps students who are struggling in this boat of they're not trying hard enough or they're just falling behind, but Teach Now really makes it clear that education can reach every kid, and there's a scientific way of figuring out how to do that.
Are you looking to further your career in education? Teach Now offers a convenient online teacher preparation and master's degree program completed anywhere in the world.
Reach now for Teach Now. Ain't no time for defeat now. Teachers, get off your seats now. Future generations need you now.
Work with people all over the world in a collaborative, activity-based teaching environment.
To learn more, visit teach-now.edu.
Expertise that is really outside of the box.
Speaking of challenges, any teaching, like kind of living challenges other than that, of course, we've just raised, you've come up against in your current position down in beautiful sunny Sanya with the beach just outside your classroom?
Yes, and I think that this is something that teachers in China across the board are going to relate to. I have students in my classroom that are struggling more significantly than other students. And there are behavioral issues, there are learning disabilities, and then there's like learning disabilities that are contextual. I don't want to get into too much detail just for the privacy of the students, but my mother is a special education teacher, so I kind of briefed her on the cases of these 3 children. I've gotten the support that I need, but not every teacher is kind of in that kind of scenario where they can just call up a special education teacher.
Right.
But I mean, by far, that is the greatest challenge, is how do I help these students when I'm only one person, and what we really need in some of these cases is a resource teacher who's going to take them out of class and work them with these specific learning disabilities that require one-on-one attention. And yeah, I mean, I'm one person. How do I do it? And I think that there are a lot of teachers who relate with that. And then on top of that, there's the parent-teacher-child relationship, because if in a class or in the past or even now, if we notice a kid that might be on the spectrum of autism, and really there's some specific things that parents and teachers need to be doing to help that child to be equipped for the future in handling the different abilities that they have, and just coming up with strategies to help that child succeed, even if they're on the spectrum. But meeting denial, meeting a wall of that, no, my child is normal, they're just going to grow out of it.
Funny enough, again, that same person who I spoke to today, a teacher who said, wanted to wake up, so to speak. He's had exact same challenges like that. And the thing is, it's a school by school basis, really, because, a professional 21st century school would have the protocols in place to give, as you've just said, an actual dedicated teacher who understands these things and be able to take the children away to give them some good one-on-one tutoring and to help with their issues. But he said, he spoke to one of his bosses about a child who he thought could be on the spectrum of autism and such things, and the leader told him that no, there's nothing wrong, it's fine, we don't need to do anything. So I think things are changing and developing, but that is for sure an absolute challenge. We could talk many hours about it. Very interesting stuff, Vanessa.
I do just want to point out though what you said, kind of 21st century school. I mean, so being the daughter of a mother from special education, I remember when it was still okay in the US to call someone a retard, and it wasn't until I was a little bit older that it was absolutely not okay. So if we're looking at China in terms of special education, they're like the US in the 1980s, or maybe even before, because still this society the society as a whole is set up around one track, and if they don't pass the Gaokao, then there's only several tracks that they can go down. But until the society changes, then the schools aren't going to reflect that, because the schools they service and equip for the society. And so the society as a whole needs to be saying, well, we recognize that there is something different with these children. And until that happens, it's going to continue to be a pink elephant.
Most definitely. It needs to happen in consciousness, in how we are thinking about it on a society-wide level. Okay, right. Well, if I could wave some magic to that, I certainly would. But we're going to wave some magic somewhere else. It's magic one time.
Can you wave for magic wand? We're gonna dance to the left-hand side.
Okay, Vanessa, here we go. Short, sharp, straight to the point answers, if it's ever possible on China Jedi. Here we go. First question. Favorite game you play in your class?
Weakest link. My students have to help the student who can't spell well. and they can't write for the child, but that person is the leader. And if they help the child write correctly the spelling word, then they get a point. And I just love that it forces them to collaborate and do teamwork, and they can't take the job from the child who's the weakest link.
Love it. Favorite tech tool that you use in class?
My cell phone. Because I can give it to a child if they need some tech time, some one-on-one tech time. I take pictures of materials that I need to throw up on the screen. I record videos of good children and naughty children that I send videos to their parents and say, please talk to them about this and not let them do it ever again.
Okay, great. Favorite sentence then that you like to say to your students?
Oh, you're sitting well. I like how you're sitting. You're sitting well. I say that all the time.
Okay, cool. Next one. If I could wave a magic wand, as I said before, what could I give you that could help your classroom or school? I think you've already alluded to it earlier, but here you go.
Resource teacher, yes, please.
There you go. Resource teacher. Bing. She or he has appeared now, but only for 10 minutes. She's got tons of stuff to do. Finally, give us your favorite teacher's tip, tool, website, resource, or person of educational inspiration, Vanessa. I
really love reading A to Z. Absolutely love it. And if you can't have reading A to Z, then Wah Wah Ya Ya. It's an app called Wah Wah Ya Ya, literally. So reading A to Z, I think a lot of people are familiar with that, and it's very helpful.
Raz, absolutely, Raz. Yeah, brilliant stuff.
Then a nice alternative is something called Wah Wah Ya Ya, and that's what the Chinese name for it is. And then it's also called Joy Reader in English, but it reads both Chinese and English. And I use it for a WeChat homework group that I kind of send a book to the group. I ask some reading comprehension questions, and then after they've read the book or listen to it being read aloud to them, then they answer the questions, the reading comprehension questions.
So Wah Wah Ya Ya, that is Joy Reader, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's good. That's good. I've not heard of that. So for sure, Raz we've heard of. We've just recently integrated it all across our grades. So really good one there. So thanks for that. Right. Okay. Let's see. The first one we've done, if the host can beat the guest, I suppose I really should lose. It's the English gentleman way. Here we go. Classroom scramble.
Oh, we chat, wait, shin, me. We chat, wait, shin, come to my party.
So RMTOEPCU.
Computer.
Okay, there you go. I'm just going to absolutely move on there. I'm sure listeners got that. I have been told by my researchers it will get more difficult. So congratulations. Right, let's finish this pod with what's your future plans, Vanessa? Do you think you're going to be in Sanya for years to come?
Definitely in Sanya. Maybe not as a teacher, but definitely in Sanya.
Okay, well, there you go. Interesting stuff. And of course, for all of our teacher guests that we're going to have on China Jeducation, we will enclose your contact details at the bottom of the show notes. So that will be your WeChat and your personal email address. And of course, if you're on LinkedIn, for people to connect with you on there too. Keep on teaching, keep on surfing. I wish you all the best. Of course, keep in touch. This is China Jedi, people. If you're an English-speaking teacher from anywhere in the world and you have a bachelor's degree but need an official and accredited teaching license to get a job, get a visa to teach abroad, or most importantly to learn all those things you wish you knew before you stood in front of 30-plus students, then reach now to Teach Now and secure a professional US District of Columbia license in as little as 9 months. Online in no time, low cost, high quality. Teach Now. Get in the game. Immediately receive a $100 discount off your tuition by signing up to the Teach Now program via the link www.teach-now.edu/China Jedi.
May the smile be with you.